I'm sold already. A little bit of lemon. Cheers.
And how is the sauce?
Vegetarian or non-vegetarian? What is
Like an
it
Asian
like?
It is non-vegetarian because there is
It's
a...
not living.
It is living, it is growing inside. Hey guys, Loud Guys. Today we are going to watch the USA seafood that kills 100 Americans a year. So why are Americans eating it? We don't know, and we are going to watch it. And this might be one of the most interesting videos I've ever watched.
Also toughest because we are vegetarians.
Yes, it will be toughest, but it will be very interesting that why people are still eating those seafoods that are killing 100 Americans a year. So let's watch this
Video.
In this video, you'll see how an oyster goes from this
That's a 2mm oyster.
to this
Oh wow!
and even this.
Hey!
Have a champagne cream sauce with caviar on top.
Can we try that out?
But first, let's
Champagne
back up.
cream sauce.
As our journey continues, our East Coast seafood tour
Maryland.
is taking us from Crabbers in Maryland
God, this thing
Well,
is gigantic.
all the way here to the oyster capital in Virginia.
Eat it raw.
Oh!
Nothing on it. This is full of
Is it
seawater.
raw?
This multi-million
Yes.
dollar industry is responsible for the
See their
harvesting
cages.
of millions of oysters each year.
Virginia is the top 3 oyster producers in the country.
But bringing these mollusks to
store it.
maturity isn't as straightforward as you might think.
Even in the same body of water, the way the sun hits it, the depth of the water, the oysters can have a different flavor.
Today, I'm on a mission to see how farmers raise the eastern oyster, a high-end delicacy for some,
my God.
and a complete nightmare for others.
Every year, some people die from eating oysters that are raw. Is that correct?
Oh, so you
It all
cannot
starts-
eat them raw.
Right here in
Why
the
they're
water.
eating it?
That is crazy, but they love it.
Is oyster farming to Virginia?
It's essential. It's a core staple coming out of the region.
Meet Tom, former broke college kid turned fanatic oysterpreneur. Today he'll show me the entire oyster breeding
Wow,
process from
that's
farm
big.
to mouth.
Virginia is the top 3 oyster producers in the country. The Chesapeake Bay is one of the largest bodies of water that
Chesapeake
houses
Bay.
oysters in the world.
The Chesapeake Bay is
Oyster.
the USA's
Chesapeake
largest
Bay.
estuary, where the river meets the sea. It crosses 6 states, including Virginia. Its unique blend of fresh water and salt water creates a dynamic, nutrient-rich environment, perfect for
nice.
raising the highest grade of oysters in the world. But how does the oyster raising
lucky.
process begin?
So everything starts with the nursery.
Correct.
Can we check that out first?
Absolutely, let's do it.
This is Oyster Seed Holdings, and this is owner, researcher Mike.
Oysters have a 2-part life cycle. They have a larval phase first and then the adult phase second. Inside in the hatchery is where we do all the larval work. Once they get big enough, we can get them out of larval culture and put them into a setting process that allows them to get through metamorphosis. Once we get them through metamorphosis, they kind of get kicked out of the hatchery, out here where Mother Nature is providing all the food, and we'll put them into these tanks and flow lots of water past them.
So these are all little baby oysters.
They are.
Okay.
At this stage, these tiny babies are ready to be shipped out to farmers like Tom, who will grow them to full size over a matter of years.
All right, so we've seen the nursery, but from here,
This
we're
is
gonna see-
crazy. So it is not like fish or something like they just catch fish and they process it
They're
and
just
eat.
growing it.
It is all medical thing and it is all like processed and it was looking like a chemical lab.
Where does from that seeds came out?
Yeah, even that was my question. I think so that would have been from a bigger oyster than the seeds. Like fruits,
Oh,
if you take
maybe.
seeds from that, then you grow
That
it.
is also possible.
I don't know, but this is crazy. First time seeing this.
See how you cultivate the oysters right here in the ocean.
Let's go see it.
So right now we just entered the oyster field. There are a lot more pelicans than I expected. I think that could
They
be a
just keep
side
on
business.
floating.
Pelican meat. This is my second time being to an oyster farm. The first time was actually in Vietnam, and let me tell you, it was quite a bit different. In Vietnam, they have these giant wood lattices made from bamboo. From the lattices, they have some strings or ropes suspended that the oysters are then connected to, and you can kind of pull them up in clumps. This
Wow.
is completely different.
What's different about what we do is we are raising these oysters at the surface of the water column where the food is the most plentiful. The first 18 inches is where the most light penetration is and the most water flow is. So there's more algae available. When you suspend them, the further you get into the water column, the less algae you're going to have.
So we're going to pull this one up. What's going to be inside here?
These are going to be our oysters that we put out at 1/4 inch. That was about 90 days ago. So let's
1/4
put them up and
inch?
see what they look like.
Tom exclusively
It's
farms
time
East
consuming.
Coast native oysters.
You
Yeah,
don't guide that on there.
Okay,
they might be
It's
expensive.
expensive.
Sorry, we also could have used the crane. Like, what are we thinking here? You know, we got to use our backs.
I thought this was a sailboat.
These bivalves have the special
It's like, you know,
ability
honeybee.
Honeybee.
Huh?
50 gallons of water each day, absorbing nutrients from algae and plankton.
You look in there.
In these nutrient-rich waters, they can grow from a quarter inch to this in as short as 90 days.
When
That's
they brought in
fast.
initially, they
What
were
does it
just
taste
big
like?
enough to
I wanna
not
see
come
that.
out of this net.
Yes, exactly.
But these are still the little babies.
These are tiny.
Some oysters, blessed with good genes, can grow at shocking speeds. This bag also contains 90-day-old oysters,
Like
but some have
shells.
already reached their mid-stage of development.
Oyster also a
These are
smart
quite a
one.
bit bigger, and actually, some of them look like they're fully grown.
I would call that a market oyster.
You might think that managing thousands of oysters, all growing and maturing at different speeds,
Very
would be
hard.
quite a logistical challenge.
Yeah.
And it might be, unless you have one of these. Our
Machines.
very own processing
clean
facility.
that
Once a
baby,
bag
huh?
of oysters fills up, it's brought here.
The oysters are being carried up this hopper, and they're being broken down into 3 sizes. So we have the first drop, second drop, and the third drop. The first and second drop are much further away to market size. The third drop is very close to market.
Every oyster here is
Very
categorized
smelly.
according to size. Then you put it back in the mesh bag with similar oysters of the same size. Throw it back in the water.
Correct.
On average,
Wow.
an oyster makes 5 round trips between this tumbler and the water, and eventually they plump up to their full adult size.
Oh!
Now they're ready to be shucked and eaten.
Humans can
alive.
do a lot for their
Bigger
food.
than the other ones we just saw.
Well,
From
let's
nursery
like just
to
we have to
becoming
like
this
take
size,
them
how
and
long
just
is that?
eat
18
it.
to 24 months.
No
That's an
spices,
incredible
no
amount of
oil.
effort.
It's actually relatively fast for the industry. Up in Canada, sometimes those oysters take up to 4 years to get them out.
4
We
years!
demand excellence.
But
here.
Canadians.
He wedges the knife in there, gets a leverage on it.
You want to cut that adductor muscle off the top, put that boy overboard,
Show the other oysters what's up.
and then you get a nice, meaty, succulent bad boy right there.
Okay,
Eat it
so
raw, nothing
this
on it to
is
start. But then we'll
eat
go
to
into the other
eat.
stuff.
I mean, nothing on it. This
The
is
whole
full of
thing.
seawater. So you drink all the liquid too?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Why?
Electrolytes.
Shots.
But it is seawater. How are they eating it?
So good.
It's good?
Water is not
Oh yeah, it was
healthy.
overwhelming
Yeah.
at first. It's a lot to
Full of
handle.
germs.
It's salty blast, briny, but the meat has a nice bite to it. It didn't feel slimy. It's interesting because it's not cold, it's not chilled, but it's super fresh.
Right out of the water.
Overall,
Fresh.
I'm impressed. I like it. Let's put some stuff on it now.
All right, let's do it.
So we're putting some sauce on it. What do you got here?
So this is a little Laotian fish sauce from my mysterious friend who lives like an hour and a half north of me.
Well, you had me at Laotian sauce. I'm sold already. A little bit of lemon. Cheers.
And how is the sauce?
Vegetarian or non-vegetarian? What is
It's like an
it?
Asian
It
tobacco.
is non-vegetarian because there is
It's
a
not
lot.
living.
Flavors.
It is living, it is growing
Really nice.
inside.
You know, if folks haven't been to an oyster
cannot
bar,
see something
it's kind of
like-
this. Different
No,
versions
it's
of
not that,
oysters
but
mixed
it is
with
growing.
booze.
We got a little bit of champagne.
I mean, yeah. He brought a freaking katana. All right, he looked up how to do this on ChatGPT.
Hey.
Ooh.
That's it, baby.
Is this something you guys do a
Oh,
lot?
nice
With new
glasses.
guests coming from Vietnam, absolutely.
We have the oyster with caviar. It's a type of caviar I've not seen before.
I
Caviar
haven't had
is
that.
Smoked
Caviar is
Orange thing.
very expensive.
Huh?
No.
Nice little bite on
Yeah,
it.
those eggs are nice. They just pop every time you bite into it. A little explosion, oily, and a wonderful mix with that briny oyster. I don't know, I feel
Fish
like it's
or
made of
something
Ariel.
like
Let's
that.
wash it down
Caviar,
with
yes.
some champagne.
Very-
Here's the Ariel.
I get used to this. So this is all you do, basically.
This is it. This is the life.
People think farming's hard. It's not.
It's so simple.
It's
How
not
long do people
simple.
It is hard.
Versus just going out and trying to get wild oysters.
The cultivation of wild oysters has been happening since the beginning of time. Humans have been trying to farm them in some way. They send a whole bunch of boats out, bring them back to shore, and just leave them there. And
But
they
this
can
is
have
very
this plentiful
systematic and
oyster
very
they can
smart
just
way.
Go back to whenever they want.
So these oysters, where do these head from here?
Everything is sold nationally, so you can go on our website, whitestoneoysters.com, and buy oysters. and ship anywhere.
I love seeing how
$85.
different ingredients are sourced. That's kind of what this whole series
For
is all
25.
about. But from here, I'm gonna see where these ingredients end up. I think I've had almost every type of banh mi that exists in Vietnam, never with oysters. And that is happening next.
Remember oyster scientist Mike?
That's a 2mm oyster.
Just last year, his
2
team at
millimeter.
Oyster Seed Holdings opened a food truck serving an innovative oyster menu, sourced from the very farmers they supply.
These look incredible. What are they flavored with?
But before I get too excited, there is one possible catch.
Okay.
The rarely spoken of seafood bacteria that kills dozens of Americans each year.
Some say that oysters are dangerous. What can you do here to prevent people from suffering negative
Nice
Yeah.
consequences from eating this delicious food?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I'd love to elaborate on it.
Let's start with the eating part. Start by popping
Let's
open
start
the
with
You
the
want to
dangerous
know the
part.
answer.
Now create 3 different flavors with 3 different butters.
We have a chipotle bourbon butter, a sweet chili, and garlic diluted
Peanut
with white
butter.
wine.
Oh, white wine, I like that.
Scott, the mastermind behind this food truck, crafted a perfect menu for lab visitors to savor a satisfying meal following their exploration of the oyster hatchery.
You cannot fill your stomach just
After
for
just
like
a few
that.
minutes, the butter bomb melts,
Yeah.
drowning each patch of
Or you have to
protein
eat
in
3 or
pure
4.
flavor.
I want to try the garlic one first, and you just
Sure,
dump the
Rich.
whole thing back?
We do.
Alright, here we go.
This is just like oyster shots.
Ah.
Oh my god, so good. Oh man.
Oh,
Oysters here are
now
incredible.
he's
It's
liking
getting
it.
better.
Like buttery, garlicky, incredible
See, they are
flavor.
mixing garlic and
Garlic. You
everything.
can add
It's
anything.
like a little bit more dense and not at all slimy.
It's the same here.
Mint chutney.
Huge in
In India, we do the same. Mix
What's
everything.
special about this place?
You know, oysters take on the
Especially
taste of the
chutneys.
place that they are. If you're really close to the ocean, oysters can be really salty. When you get away from the ocean and get a lot of freshwater input into these rivers, you get lots of kind of sweet flavors that blend into that salty flavor.
Speaking of salty, what is this one again?
Sweet chili.
So good.
Sweet chili.
Oh my god. It's buttery, a little bit sweet, not too much of a kick from the chili.
Sweet and
Very
sour.
nice. Oh, they're all just so rich and delicious. These are some of the best oysters I've ever had.
One of the reasons that we serve oysters this way is that we're trying to kind of convert people to oyster eaters.
And we were talking about maybe doing a pork banh mi and realized that maybe an oyster banh mi would be the way to go.
Well, it's not going to take much to convince me to try a banh mi. So,
Kick off this recipe by mixing shucked oysters with eggs and Cajun seasoning.
Oh!
Through a sieve to ditch any
What
excess.
was that?
Now coat the oysters in a frying
The
batter
flour.
fortified with Cajun
Oh
seasoning.
my.
Once fully
What is
cooked,
happening?
add
Like
the sizzle.
tandoori oyster.
Yeah, this is
Now
fried.
fill a party vessel. Throw
This
the
is
bun on the
KFC.
griddle to toast it up. Fill it up with crispy
Chicken wings,
oysters,
right?
pickled
Yeah.
daikon, pickled carrots, cilantro, and pickled onions. And finally, a special creamy house sauce
Mayo.
to tie everything together.
They even made a burger out of it.
almost every type of banh mi that exists
No,
in Vietnam,
it's
never
really
with
nice.
oysters. Let's give it a shot.
Whoa.
Now.
Super crunchy, a nice tang from those sour pickled vegetables.
You know, just with tasting, he has eaten 84
And the
oysters.
I'm just blown away by the texture. It's meaty, and honestly, my first guess wouldn't even be oyster. You just gave it to me, and I had a blind taste test.
Oh, it's looking very
Some people
tempting.
may be
Yeah.
apprehensive to try oysters because of the texture, but I've heard people out there who are afraid for their safety.
Yes,
Vibriosis
nice question.
is an infection primarily transmitted to humans through the consumption of raw seafood, especially oysters.
Every year there are casualties. Some people die from eating oysters. I assume that are raw. Is that correct?
You are correct.
In the USA, the disease claims the lives of 100 people each year.
So my question is, what can people do, or what can you do here to prevent people from
Yeah.
suffering negative
Yeah.
consequences from eating this delicious food?
I think the oyster industry is a very safe way to get your food. One of the things that's super important is getting oysters cold. So Vibrio is something that typically happens in the summer months. As long as you get the shell stock down to temperature very quickly, then there's nothing to worry about at all. You can eat them raw, you can eat them cooked, doesn't matter. Anybody who knows that they might have some type of immunocompromised condition should definitely avoid raw shellfish, same as you should avoid other types of raw food. And I mean, there's actually more illnesses and deaths from eating raw vegetables than there are from eating
What?
shellfish.
Oh wow.
Raw vegetables?
Just from choking on food. Number of deaths due to choking in the United States in 2021, 5,000 people. More people are dying from choking on an oyster than from the actual bacteria.
Why can't
that
you
may
eat?
contain.
Why can't
It's
you
unfortunate, but
bite
very
your
rare.
food?
Gentlemen, this was incredible. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you coming.
What is happening?
72 miles
USA is
from the ocean
crazy.
in Virginia's capital, Richmond. We'll see what oyster
Every
magic
stat from
can
USA is always like
full-size
crazy.
kitchen with top shelf ingredients.
Oh, what
In
was
this
that black
historic
thing?
metropolis, where the food
That is also
mirrors
caviar.
the diversity of its residents, we find ourselves at a restaurant known as Boathouse.
You know, just when
Boat
I think I
house.
can't eat oysters any other way, I see this, and it looks amazing.
This restaurant, nestled in a repurposed 1860s power plant, offers a stunning setting and serves up the finest.
Oh, he's loving
These
it.
specific
Orgasm.
oysters are Chapel Creek. Interesting thing is, Chapel Creek doesn't have proper refrigeration to hold oysters overnight, so they just drive the hour and 15 minutes, and we have the freshest oysters in town.
Oh, they always bring fresh.
Oysters are shucked, then lavished with a thick hollandaise sauce. Give them a quick toast
Sauce
in the
are
pizza.
good.
Okay.
Our chef created this as a Christmas Eve feature
Add
last
cheese
year.
into
Then,
that.
to dial up the extravagance, add a delicate sprinkle of caviar.
Okay.
Caviar.
Wow, it is, you know, like ravioli or pasta.
Really.
Oh my
So
god.
tiny.
He will die of all this eating.
Oh yeah.
You know, with the happiness of eating.
Caviar.
Beautiful, creamy sauce.
Kind of a lemon finish.
And there's just like no brininess to it. I'm a guy who can enjoy some brininess, but that is delicious. It's creamy. I feel like I'm eating the seafood version of Eggs Benedict.
That's a
Eggs
good
Benedict.
analogy.
This oyster really reminds me of something I've had in Vietnam. Now, in Vietnam, they like to put cheese on the oyster, melt it, and then they eat it like that. This, to me, tastes like a slightly more refined version of that, where it's not necessarily cheesy, but really creamy, kind of coats your mouth, and that taste stays with you. It's excellent. Right here we have the Rockefeller. These oysters.
As
Spinach?
ingredients, introduce spinach. Then ladle this Rockefeller concoction over the oysters. Sprinkle on
Does
crispy
not
I've
look
not
nice
tried
to me.
Fine,
spinach
give it a
with
few minutes
cheese. Have you
under
tried
high
it?
That bacon is crunchy. It's a perfect crunch to go with that really tender oyster. It's slightly heavy, slightly
Thank you so
briny,
much.
and so the flavors of the bacon and oyster are really intermingling.
He will not
well.
eat
That's excellent.
oysters
That's
for next
incredible.
4 years.
This one. It's not a
That's
seafood
how many
steak.
years
We
he
have
does.
lobster. That's it. But here we're very close to the ocean. This is a place
This is so massive farming.
I think we're spoiled because we have great seafood. It's easily accessible. You know, we have high expectations for it. And we really take pride in who delivers it and the freshness of it and how it looks.
Gentlemen, this is incredible. The food is incredible, and I love what you've done here.
Thank
Yeah,
you very
actually.
much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Today I was tested for being a vegetarian because those things were very, very delicious. But yes, the oyster farming is something that I've never even thought about, because yes, I knew that there is oyster and people eat oysters, but
You knew about that?
yeah, I knew about oysters,
Oh.
but not like this. Like they are like grown in a lab, and this happens, and they are given into like thrown into the sea, and then all these things happen. Everything is so controlled.
The whole process was kind of huge because I thought it's just like a seafood. They just catch it, clean it, cook it, and eat it. But it's like a huge process and huge business, and they are like having it. And I still like feel that it is not for everybody. I mean, if you are like health conscious or if you are suffering from any disease, I think you should avoid this. Because would you like to try it?
No, because
No.
still I am
Still,
vegetarian
I have-
side. But yes, I am very close to it. I think so. When I'm in America, these things
You
will
will
be very
forget
hard.
that you are vegetarian. Definitely.
It will be very hard. So we don't know. But yes, and also the thing of the varieties the people make, and also the people like who are closer to the fishery, they are very like good with it, because they are like, we can bring that in 1 hour. We don't have a fridge who can maintain it, so we just bring fresh.
They should have decided the quantity of like this much you can just have it in a one day. It might be dangerous to have it.
It was a crazy video to watch. How did you guys find it? Do let us know in the comment section below. So do like, share, and
Subscribe. Bye.